One of the biggest questions that people have had in the midst of the growing global pandemic is whether or not this is going to hurt or help Donald Trump. I think it's actually going to help Donald Trump, especially because we're seeing progressives and lefty pundits praise the president, and he's likely to pull through this one with success. That would be a really great reflection on him. And more importantly, who's he going to lose to even if he does worse? Biden? Sorry, I'm not buying it. Right now, Bernie Sanders is in agreement with Trump on some key issues having to do with the growing crisis. So to me, we're looking at, in my opinion, an unprecedented moment in U.S. history when it comes to an election. And while normal data on a recession may hold true, I think we're dealing with something entirely different. If there was an actual housing crash, a big market crash, people might blame the president. But are they really going to blame him for an act of God? It's a virus. It's not like Trump made it happen. But the question will be whether or not he helps us through this and does enough to help enough people. I'm not entirely convinced that when faced with an election and hoping for the best, they would choose Joe Biden over Donald Trump. So sorry, I think Trump's still going to win. And we're looking at something interesting. In Pennsylvania, Republicans have won 3 special seats, including what they call a Hillary district. Trump has overwhelmingly secured the Republican nomination with massive voter turnout for an incumbent president. But we still do have important research to look at. A coronavirus recession could doom Trump's reelection chances. And this is from Alan Abramowitz for centerforpolitics.org. Now, I'll tell you this. If you are a Trump supporter, heed these warnings. You don't want to make the same mistake Hillary Clinton did while she danced her way to defeat thinking she was going to win. The smart strategist will take a look at the potential pitfalls, recognize it, and then, adapt to that. Hopefully Trump and his people are doing that much if they really want to win this one. But I'm just going to say one more time, guys, come on. If there was anybody else running against Trump, I might think he'd lose. But I got to say, if Trump lost to Biden, I would probably laugh so hard I'd cough up a lung. That Biden could win? Come on, that dude can't. That guy can't even stand up. He doesn't even know where he is half the time. Let's be real. So here are the key points from the article. The coronavirus public health crisis likely will lead to an economic downturn of unknown length and severity. Historically, second quarter GDP growth in an election year is an important variable in predicting how an incumbent president will perform in the fall. A recession could seriously damage President Donald Trump's re-election chances. However, we are in truly uncharted territory, and it's unclear how the public will respond electorally to an economic downturn forced by a pandemic. In fact, they might sympathize with the president. They might recognize we had multiple years of astounding, solid market gains. And now they might be angry at nature. And they might want Trump to pull them out of it. Consider this. It was not Trump's fault the market tanked. But people still recognize the market did well under Trump. They might be saying, this is an unfortunate circumstance through no one's fault. We need someone like Trump to fix it again. This is the time when a businessman president is really going to matter. As much as many people on the left want to joke that Trump is now at the phase where he would normally declare bankruptcy. Look, Trump's a guy who knows trade and knows business. And I think he's going to be able to pull us through this one. And he's being praised by progressives for it. Here's what they write. Here's what Alan writes. The coronavirus pandemic has upended almost every aspect of American life over the past few weeks, and the 2020 presidential election is no exception. We have already seen candidates forced to cancel rallies, hold a debate with no audience present, and shift their campaign staffs to working online. But the biggest impact of the crisis on the 2020 election is likely to be through its effect on the U.S. economy. With major sectors of the economy grinding to a near standstill due to the pandemic, many economic forecasters are now predicting that the U.S. will experience a major downturn in economic growth in the current quarter that could continue for at least the next 2 quarters. Some forecasters are predicting a major recession with the economy shrinking by 5% or more in the second quarter of 2020. That's significant because in many election forecasting models, including my own Time for Change model, economic growth in the second quarter is a key predictor of the election results. Models like mine use second quarter GDP growth to measure the state of the economy because GDP is a broad measure of economic activity, and the performance of the economy in the second quarter seems to shape opinions of the economy in the fall. So it's possible that even if the economy recovers later in the year, the most electorally salient perceptions will nonetheless be formed in the spring and summer. For the 2020 election, I have modified my time for change model by focusing entirely on elections with a running incumbent. That is because in these elections, both the incumbent's approval rating in late June and the growth rate of the economy in the second quarter have much stronger effects than in elections without a running incumbent. I have also modified the model to make the electoral vote, rather than the popular vote, the dependent variable, because it is the electoral vote that decides the winner. I unveiled this version of the model last April in the crystal ball. So let's take a look at this results of regression analysis of incumbent president's electoral votes. They say June approval, Q2 GDP, and so I'm not super concerned about this. I will mention we are in unprecedented times, not just because of the global pandemic, but because people don't trust the media. I cited Edelman's research a couple times in the past few videos talking about how when it comes to the coronavirus, the group of people least likely to be trusted it's journalists. And that's staggering. So perhaps we're facing something truly unprecedented. People are waving flags, wearing Trump hats. And there was a funny viral post I saw on Reddit. They said, hey, everybody, remember when we used to go around with Obama hats, Obama t-shirts, waving Obama flags? Oh, right. I don't, because we weren't in an effing cult. That's what they said. All right. That's what you can believe. I don't care if you want to disparage Trump supporters. But I hope you realize that means there's nothing you can do to win, right? That was a meme. It was on political humor on Reddit. If you really believe Trump's base is a cult, congratulations, you've already consigned yourself to defeat. Because these people are going to vote for Trump no matter what you say. But more importantly, people don't trust the press. And if that's true, they're not going to believe a word out of the mouths of these journalists, and they're going to vote how they see fit. And if that's the case, they're probably going to vote for Trump. It is unprecedented. We've not seen this combination of things. Now, this is interesting. Conditional forecasts of Trump electoral vote. This is an easier to understand graph. We can see this. If quarter two GDP is -5 and net approval is -5, Trump's going to get 156 electoral votes. But come on, man. Against Joe Biden? Is that what you really think? Are you factoring in Joe Biden? See, what they're not factoring with these models is the social and cultural factor. You can take person A and person B, slap some numbers on it and see who's going to win. But you also need to consider that for all of the negative numbers you can show, Joe Biden is going to be muttering and mumbling incoherently on stage, confused about where he is, and Trump is going to steamroll him. Assuming they debate. Assuming there's even a Democratic primary. I mean, everything's being upended, so who knows what's going to happen. Now, he says Table 2 presents the conditional forecast of the electoral vote for President Trump, depending on his net approval rating in late June and the growth rate of the U.S. economy during the second quarter. So I think we get it. Let's read his conclusions. He says, based on the results of presidential elections since World War II with running incumbents, a president with an upside-down approval rating and an economy in recession would have little chance of winning a second term in the White House. If President Trump's net approval rating remains where it is now or declines further, and if the recession is severe, with real GDP shrinking by 3 points or more in the second quarter, the result could well be a defeat of landslide proportions. You know why I don't buy it? Because you still have to factor in so much more. Trump is an incumbent president, and he's secured the primary. Trump clinches GOP nomination with Tuesday primary wins. Why should I believe the economy would hold back a man who won the GOP primary by ridiculous margins in a primary where people didn't even need to vote? If Trump's base didn't come out, he still would be the GOP nominee. But instead, they came out nearly doubling the voter turnout of many different states. So you can talk about a bad economy, but nobody's blaming Trump for it. I mean, some people probably are, sure, the never Trumpers. But I think Trump's base, they don't care. They're like, nope, not going to blame him for this. A few caveats are in order. Voters may not hold an incumbent president responsible for a recession brought on by an unforeseeable disaster like the coronavirus pandemic. I agree. Although they may hold him responsible for the government's response to the pandemic, which is a story that is still being written. Yeah, but when you get Ilhan Omar praising Trump's actions, I'm sorry, man, he's united pretty much everybody at this point. Moreover, in our current era of deep partisan polarization, events like recessions may not have as great an impact on an incumbent's electoral fortunes as they did in the past. We have seen that President Trump's approval rating has been remarkably stable due to almost unwavering support from his fellow Republicans and equally unwavering opposition from Democrats. But the Democrat opposition has wavered. Look at the Gallup data. Come on. Not a lot, but a few points. On the other hand, polarization might also mean that an incumbent, especially one who makes little effort to appeal to voters outside his own party's base, might not receive the full benefit of incumbency, which depends on the ability of an incumbent to attract votes across party lines. Finally, the fact that our forecasts are based on only 11 elections should make us cautious in interpreting these results despite the impressive accuracy of the model. Listen, if you ignore the negative signs and plug your ears and say la, 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 don't be surprised if you lose. Now, there's other data to consider. The GOP just won 3 special Pennsylvania House races, including a Hillary district. Keep in mind everything that's been said here. Make the decisions for yourself, and you should always act as though you are going to lose. Go out in full force, vote for your candidate. Now, if you're a Biden supporter, whoever you might be, sure, maybe there's a couple of them, you better make sure you go out and vote in full force. If you're a Trump supporter, the same thing is true. Bernie supporters, I got nothing for you, man. Biden's the nominee. I don't blame you if you don't want to vote for either of them because, I don't know, been there, done that. But we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I will see you all then.